The moment when Big and Carrie's affair ends with Natasha finding Carrie in her apartment and chasing her out is one of the most unforgettable scenes in the show. But I couldn't help but wonder, was there something that happened off-screen that led to this moment? Hello there, and welcome to my channel where I talk about and break down TV shows that I love. There's always a reason. Let's talk about it. In an earlier video called Why Carrie Copies Natasha, I talked about all the ways that Carrie would push herself into Big's life, almost like she was pretending to be Big's wife. The biggest way she did this was by hanging around in the Big's apartment like she owned the place or lived there herself. This scene happens in season 3, episode 11. Natasha comes back from the Hamptons early and catches Carrie running out of the apartment. She yells, "Carrie, I see you! Wait, I knew you were having an affair, but not in my house. Duh. I'm talking to you." And then bam, she falls and ends up in the emergency room. In that video I made, I pointed out that if Carrie is literally using Natasha's shower and washing her hair, we can see her hair is completely soaked in this scene. Then Natasha is definitely going to find curly blonde hair all over the shower, and she'll figure out about the affair pretty quickly. Also, let's be honest, curly hair gets everywhere. It's probably all over the bed in the whole apartment already. But here's the thing. This was actually the first time Carrie had been to Big's apartment since he got married. Yet Natasha already knew about the affair. She says, "I knew you were having an affair, but not in my house." Even if we think maybe Natasha is just saying that because she's upset, and she didn't really know but just had suspicions, season 3, episode 17 proves it. It's the scene when Carrie talks to Natasha at a restaurant to try and make herself feel better. Natasha says, "I'm sorry that he cheated on me with you. And I'm sorry that I pretended to ignore it for as long as I did." Okay, so Natasha knew for a while. But how did she know? What clues did Natasha see? Despite Carrie thinking she's stupid in season 3, episode 3, Carrie says, "It's a good thing she got married. The woman's an idiot." Natasha is much smarter than that. She quietly watched, took notes, and made a plan for herself. Let's go back to season 2, episode 17, 20-something girls versus 30-something women. Carrie sees Big talking to someone and learns that he's dating her. Natasha says, "Carrie, it's nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you. I know this is just a polite thing people say, even if they've never heard of you before. But it wouldn't surprise me if Big had mentioned Carrie to Natasha a few times, especially after Paris. You probably told her about Carrie just in case anyone accidentally called Natasha Carrie when they were out together. We already know that some of Big's friends mix up names, like in season 1, episode 7, when his friend Max accidentally called Carrie Julia. This isn't a clue yet, this is just setting things up. Natasha now knows who Carrie is. The first real clue happens in the next episode. Carrie calls Big's apartment and hangs up when Natasha answers. Then she calls again and stays on the phone when Big picks up. Carrie even thinks to herself, "I hadn't planned on the idiot stick figure with no soul to answer the phone." Then I remembered Big had caller ID. Now, when I had a landline with caller ID and someone prank called me and hung up right away, the first thing I did was check the caller ID. We don't see Natasha doing this, it happens off screen. But it was totally normal back then to check the caller ID after something like that. Carrie says sorry and asks Big to apologize to Natasha for hanging up on her, but this doesn't really matter. Natasha walks back into the room and sees Big on the phone right away. She's not stupid. She knows it's the same person who just called and hung up on her. She even looks at Big and hears him stammer a little because she's in the room. We see Natasha leave the room, but off screen we don't know if she can still hear what Big is saying. His apartment is nice, but it's not so huge that you can't hear someone talking on the phone in the other room. From Natasha's point of view, she hears Big say this, "How are you? You sound a little nuts. Oh, you have a speech, do you? Well, I'd like that. I've been meaning to call you, but I didn't know if you wanted to hear from me, so let's have lunch." Throughout this whole conversation, it's obvious that Big and Carrie are very uncomfortable. Don't you think Natasha would have picked up on Big's awkwardness too? Plathy's speaking really quietly and stammered even more when she was in the room. Clue number 1. Someone is calling our home and doesn't want to talk to me. Only this person makes Big nervous, so there's some history between them. Clue number 2. Seeing Carrie show up at the engagement party after it's finished, only to talk to Big and nobody else. She just stands there and waits for Big to come to her. If she actually wanted to congratulate Natasha and Big because she was invited, that would have been fine. Natasha probably would have been okay with it too, but she didn't. She just stood there and talked to Big, only Big. She didn't even wave at Natasha or anything. In the entire scene, you can actually see Natasha in the background and she's watching the whole time. She obviously doesn't know what they're talking about and can't hear them. Carrie even makes direct eye contact with Natasha at one point. Natasha turns away just for a second, and this is when Carrie decides to brush Big's hair out of his face, like they're in some movie, which Natasha definitely saw. Like, what is that? Natasha sees how comfortable Carrie still is with Big Neck, and she now knows that Carrie still loves him and isn't over him. Season 3, Episode 9. Natasha ran into Carrie before this episode in a dressing room in Episode 3 of the same season, but Big wasn't around. So Natasha didn't really have a reason to be cold towards her. In fact, she was pretty polite to Carrie. But now that Big is here and they're married, Natasha can see Carrie bumbling and stuttering like crazy just from being next to him. When Carrie comes out from behind the table she was hiding behind, you can even see a look of annoyance on Natasha's face, almost like she's thinking, oh great, it's her again. Clue number 3 is when coffee gets spilled on Big's pants and Carrie immediately tries to wipe it off. This makes Natasha push through and almost yell, no, I'll do it. She'll has to grab the napkin away from Carrie to wipe his pants herself. Again, this shows that Carrie still acts like his girlfriend and isn't fully out of Big's life. Clue number 4, the final piece, isn't really shown to us, but we can figure it out. Season 3, Episode 11 is the episode where everything explodes. We see that Big and Carrie are meeting up all the time at hotels to continue their affair, and their schedule is all over the place. In the first hotel, Big's wearing a nice suit and looks well dressed, like usual. This is probably evening time after work. But in the second hotel, Big is just wearing his undershirt and boxers. Carrie says, you can't just keep changing the time like this. I have a schedule too. Wait, I have to put my diaphragm in. Big says, well, I have to be at work in 40 minutes. Since he's so dressed down and we saw Big open a bottle of wine, we can guess this is probably his lunch break, and time is running out. In the third hotel, which honestly looks more like a motel, he's dressed down, drinking beers, and it's the middle of the day. Carrie mentions that it's super hot, and they're both just hanging out on the bed. They're not rushing to leave or anything. This feels like it's a day off. Maybe a Saturday or Sunday. The fourth and final hotel. It's the middle of the day and Big is wearing his suit again. So this feels like it's probably his lunch break. I think it's safe to say that most of these meets happened during his lunch hour, with some random meets at odd times here and there. With all of the other clues, Natasha is on edge and she's paying closer attention to Big. She's noticing that when she calls his office during lunch, he's not there. She asks to meet up for lunch. He's unavailable. She calls, and he's in random last-minute meetings that he never mentioned before. He's less available, and she's paying more attention at the apartment. Big says to Carrie as he rushes out to go back to work since he's on his lunch break, take your time. Shower. There's stuff in the kitchen if you're hungry. Big wouldn't tell Carrie to take her time if he knew Natasha was going to be home from the Hamptons anytime soon. It was probably discussed between them, and Natasha said she would be coming back in the evening. Is it really just a coincidence that Natasha came home early from the Hamptons? Not at 8 a.m. or anything like that, but right around his lunch break. She did this on purpose. She was trying to catch them. Why? If Natasha knew that Big was having an affair, why not just divorce him already? Because she needed hard proof. When Big thought about leaving Natasha before the affair even started, Season 3, Episode 9, he says to Carrie, I thought about it and it's going to cost me a lot. So maybe you should forget about what I said. I made my bed, and I should lie in it. Spousal support, alimony, and splitting up their stuff are all things that come up during a divorce. Big knew a divorce with Natasha would cost him a lot before he even started an affair with Carrie. Now imagine how much it would cost with proof of cheating. The state of New York thinks about bad behavior during marriage when deciding spousal support or alimony, and when splitting up property. There's also something called economic misconduct, which includes things like hiding money, using marital income to pay for an addiction, or spending marital money on an affair. So this is a double problem for Big B, because not only did he have an affair with Carrie, but how much money did he spend on the affair with all of these hotels? Plus, Natasha quit her job at Ralph Lauren when she and Big got married. This is confirmed by Samantha in Season 3, Episode 17, when she says Natasha left Big. Their marriage is over. She's back to working for Ralph Lauren. Natasha saw the signs, the hints, the little clues that Big was cheating on her, but she needed to build her case. Who is it? What's the proof? And is it a one-time thing, or a long affair that used up their money? She needed to stay quiet, stay calm, and set her plan in motion. Notice that Samantha says Natasha left Big, not Big left Natasha. It was Natasha who filed for divorce and got her lawyers working right away. I'm sorry that I pretended to ignore it for as long as I did. Not only have you ruined my marriage, but now you have ruined my lunch. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you all think. Were there any other signs that Natasha saw about your affair? What do you think tipped her off? Let me know in the comments. And if you have a suggestion for the next video, feel free to leave that in the comments too. Thanks so much for watching. See y'all next time.